Hello everyone, my name is Atellus, and today we're going to be talking about the assassination of Julius Caesar as told by Suetonius in his greater works, De Vita Caesarum, the book Divus Iulius, chapter 82. So let's get into it. Gaius Suetonius Tranquillus was a Roman historian most famous for his De Vita Caesarum, a collection of 12 biographies on the empire's first leaders. These include Julius Caesar, Augustus, and continue all the way through Domitian. Suetonius was born in around 69 AD and lived until at least 122 AD, though we do not know the exact dates of his birth and death. He is believed to have held positions on the staff of Pliny the Younger, Emperor Trajan, and Emperor Hadrian, in addition to him being, in the words of Pliny, committed to writing. Today we will be diving into chapter 82 of Divus Iulius, the first book in De Vita Caesarum, and Suetonius' rendition of the assassination of Gaius Iulius Caesar. Suetonius depicts the attack as being committed by conspirators within the Senate, which is consistent with Stephen Sayler's description in chapter 11 of Roma. Additionally, the manuscript is where we get Caesar's famous last words. This chapter comes after Suetonius has explained the different signs and bad omens for Caesar regarding the Ides of March in the year of 44 BC. So here is our first section. Accidentem conspirati specie officii circumsterant, illicoque Cimbertilius, qui primas partes susceperat, quasi aliquid rogaturus propius accessit renuentique, et gestu in alia tempus differenti ab utroque umero togam adprehendit. So our first word here is accidentem, which means to take a seat, and Caesar is understood as the subject. So this means as he took a seat, or as Caesar took his seat, the conspirators, conspirati, gathered around him, which we get from circumsterant. So they're gathering around him, and Cimbertilius, right here, is going to take the lead part, the primus partes. He's taking the lead on this. And he comes near to Caesar as if to ask something. And we get that from rogaturus, which is a future active participle, meaning as if to ask something. So he comes near him as if to ask something, and when Caesar makes this gesture, kind of putting him off, Cimber caught his toga by both shoulders. So he has catching the toga here by both shoulders, and then we move on to the next bit. So Caesar has just been grabbed by both of his shoulders. His toga has been grabbed by both of his shoulders by Tilius Cimber. And so Caesar declares, right here, clamantem, which is a present participle, Caesar declares, why this violence? Indeed, this is violence, which is right here. And so then we have one of the cascas, because apparently there are multiple cascas. So one of the cascas, out from one side, attacks Caesar and stabs him in the neck. The ugulum is the neck. Caesar caught Casca's arm. He caught his brachium. He caught his arm and ran it through with his stylus, with his graphio. So Caesar stabbed Casca with his pen, and he tried to jump to his feet, but he was stopped by another wound, another vulnere. So here we have utque, which means and as, because the que ending means and. So and as Caesar, which is still understood as a subject, pays attention to, understands that he is vested on every side by these drawn daggers, pugionibus. He decides to, and this is something I think is really cool. He decides to wrap, which is a volvit, wrap himself, his head, in his toga. So he's doing this. He's wrapping his head in his toga, and at the same time, he's taking his left hand, sinistra manu, and kind of pulling his toga down to cover the lower part of his body, because he wants to anestis caderet. He wants to sink more honorably, in a more distinguished way. So here we get to a part that I think is pretty interesting. Adque ita tribus et vigenti plagis confusus est uno modo, ad primum ictum gemitu sine voce edito, etsi tradederant quidam Marco Bruto irruenti dixisse kai su technon. So up here we have atque, which is and in this way he was stabbed with tribus et vigenti 3 and 20, so 23 wounds. Uttering not a word, he didn't say anything until Marcus Brutus came to him, rushed at him, and Caesar said, "Kai su teknon," which is in Greek, it means, you as well, you too, my child. So a lot of times, "Kai su teknon" is this scene is quoted in Latin, "et tu, Brute," but according to Suetonius here, Caesar says it in Greek. So that's why a lot of translations will say, in Greek, Caesar said, "and you, Brutus," or "and you, my child," because the original language that Suetonius recorded it in was Greek. So Caesar has been laying here for a while. Everybody has left, and after some time, three worthless young slaves, servoli, that's the translation I found, worthless young slaves, took Caesar and put him on a litter, and with one arm hanging down, they tried to take him back to his house. So here we have our last slide, and we have the physician Antistius, right here, medicus, the physician Antistius, examining the body, and in his opinion, his expert opinion, of all the wounds that he received, none of them turned out to be mortal, none of them turned out to be fatal. Which is what we get from letale. None of them turned out to be fatal, except for the one in the second location beneath the breast. So in all of that, he got 23 wounds, and only one of them turned out to be the kill shot. So if we go back through the whole thing, our final translation is, as Caesar took his seat, the conspirators gathered about him as if to pay their respects, and immediately Tillius Cimber, who had assumed the lead, came nearer as though to ask him something. And when Caesar, with a gesture, put him off to another time, Cimber caught his toga by both shoulders, and Caesar cried, "Why this violence?" One of the Cascas stabbed him from one side just below the throat, and Caesar caught Casca's arm and ran it through with his stylus, stabbed him with his stylus. But as he tried to leap to his feet, he was stopped by another wound. When he saw that he was beat on every side by drawn daggers, he muffled his head in his robe. He wrapped his head in his robe, and at the same time drew his toga down to his feet with his left hand in order to fall more decently, with the lower part of his body additionally covered. And in this way he was stabbed with 23 wounds, uttering not a word, but merely a groan at the first stroke, though some have written that when Marcus Brutus rushed him, he said in Greek, "You too, my child, kai su teknon." All the conspirators left, and he lay there lifeless for some time, and finally three worthless slaves put him on a litter and carried him home with one arm hanging down. And of so many wounds, none turned out to be fatal, in the opinion of the physician Antistius, except the second one in the breast. So thank you for listening, and have a good day.